Christoph Roth is a senior VFX producer with over 16 years of experience in the world of cinematography and arts. In his VFX years and career, so far he has produced various nominated commercials, TV shows, and feature films, such as Transformers 5, After Earth, and Rush, and his Emmy for the amazing, great TV series Game of Thrones. Any Game of Thrones fans here? Game of Thrones? Game of Thrones? واحد اثنين ثلاثة أربعة. It's banned in Saudi. Of course, for the final two episodes in season 2, Blackwater and Valar Marquez, as well as the second highest grossing film worldwide, Marvel's Guardian of the Galaxy. He has worked with notable industry members such as director Michael Bay, who directed Bad Boys 1, Bad Boys 2, Transformers 1, Transformers 2, 3, 4, and 5. And James Gunn, who directed The Guardians of the Galaxy, James Jarmusch. And he worked with the late actor Philip Seymour Hoffman, Oscar-winning VFX artist supervisor Adam Valdez, and Oscar-nominated VFX supervisor Eric Winquist, and 4-time Oscar winner Joe Leterrier, right? Pronounce it right. Mr. Roth is currently working as a senior VFX producer for Disney's, drumroll, The Lion King. Can you believe it? Yes, yes. The teaser trailer just came out. It had the most watchable thing on YouTube, right? Correct? After the Avengers. Please enjoy the video about our friend Christoph Roth, about his work at MPC. Let's play the video and welcome Christoph Roth after that. Thank you. Please welcome Mr. Roth.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, all of you. First of all, I'd like to thank Faisal and my friends here to inviting me to be part of this convention and this exhibition and to be able to have the opportunity to talk a little bit about my work. As mentioned, my name is Christoph Roth. I'm a senior visual effects producer. I'm dealing mostly with the post-production process of a film production. Mainly working with computers and doing all the cool stuff that happens that you see, like spaceships and dinosaurs and everything that you can't actually film in front of a camera. I didn't even know that we had this video prepared. Thank you so much for showing a little bit of my work that I was participating in the past. I do have also a little bit of a show reel to get yourself in the mood to show different films that I was working on in the recent months and years so that you can see what kind of work we are talking about. Enjoy.
سماعات اللي محتاج السماعات للترجمة بليز موجودة على يدكم اليسار. يعطيكم العافية. Thank you. Very impressive.
Okay, no worries. Thank
I
you.
haven't seen the video, so very impressive.
All right. So that was hopefully quite impressive and exciting to see. As you can imagine, there is a lot of work that goes into creating images like this. And I would like to take this brief opportunity to you, for those people who are interested in the filmmaking process, to give you a little bit of an insight about the steps that you need to take to get something like this on the screen. As mentioned, I'm currently working on The Lion King, on Disney's The Lion King. We just released the trailer. I think it had 250 million views in 24 hours, super successful. Obviously, we are very proud of this achievement. Unfortunately, I can't show anything from The Lion King quite yet because it's not released. So what I did is I took images and the workflow of The Jungle Book, the project we worked with Jon Favreau before we worked on The Lion King, to give you a bit of an idea of the process. A little bit just for you to understand what my history is. I did my school diploma in English and mathematics. I studied computer science in Germany, in Hamburg. After studying, I also added a diploma as a mixed media designer. I'm working as a VFX artist and also as a VFX producer, mainly on the producing side of things in the last 12 years for various companies like Pixomondo, Framestore, and Weta. Weta is very successful and known for the work they did on The Lord of the Rings, for example. And currently, as said, working as a senior VFX producer on The Lion King. The Jungle Book. Just a few figures for you to get an idea about the scope of an endeavor of a project like The Jungle Book. So from the initial shoot until the delivery of the film, it took us about 2 years, 2 full years. That's 2 times 365 days, 24 months to actually do a pre-visualization of the movie and then actually ending up showing the movie on screen. We had about 800 people, 800 artists working on that film. That was, some people were working in London, some people were working in Bangalore, some people, key filmmakers, were working in Los Angeles. In order to make that movie work, I mean, maybe you remember, who actually saw The Jungle Book? People in the audience who know? Yeah, okay, so people are familiar with that. So as you can saw in the movie, there are quite a lot of CG, computer-generated images, and computer-generated plants and trees that we needed to do. So overall, we did 54 various animal species, and those species had 224 variations. Variation means different fur, different color, maybe a different groom, a different haircut. And on top of this, we also created 58 various environments, unique environments, so that we had a playground for the animals to play with. And we created over 500 plants, trees, and grasses to populate the universe, and in this case, the jungle of India. We worked on 1,200 shots. Basically, a shot, as you know, is everything that is in between a cut in a film. So we had to do 1,200, and we actually worked on 95 minutes of footage. We generated almost 2,000 terabytes of data. That's a lot. And we needed to use 240 million render farm hours. As you may be aware of, when you're working in the computer, every image needs to be calculated by a render farm, by various processors. For this movie, we used 240 million farm hours. Maybe it's easier to get an idea of the scope. If you only would have one computer to render this whole movie, it would have taken this computer 30,000 years to render that film. So it was pretty massive. All right. So what I'm going to show you is the bit of an evolution of a scene. So what you see right here is actually the way how we filmed that movie in Los Angeles. We rented a warehouse, and the only real person or real element in the whole movie was the kid and a couple of plants for interaction elements and also everything that he had contact with, in this example, this tree. And this was the way we shot it actually in LA. I mean, I think you people are familiar with the term blue screen or green screen. This is a use of a green screen here. But in order to generate this setup here, we went through various stages prior to shooting to make sure that we know where do we need to arrange the tree, where do we need to arrange the camera. So, and after all that work, we came up with a shooting plan for that particular day, and then shot that specific element. And I'm going to play this video right now, and you can see the progression from shooting it on stage, getting it into the computer, and then actually eventually ending up with the final shot. So this is the final, the original plate, that's we call it, the element that we shoot. This is already a combination. This is the final shot, and a few shots also in between. So what we shot also, we shot a master scene that we called it, like a longer shot, and then we put it into the editing room and we cut various angles together. And here we have the kid and Bagheera walking through the jungle in India. So as you can imagine, that required a whole lot of planning in order to know where to put the camera and how to shoot the kid. You can see in a second, this one was what we called, it's a previs or an animatic. With very simple elements, we are already doing the movie basically before we actually shooting any live action elements, so that we have an idea about, okay, this is the timing of the camera move, this is the angle of the camera, what lenses are we using. So it's already, before actually setting up any camera, a fair amount of work that already happened here, so that we get a sense about how the rhythm of the scene is going to be. So after we did this and the director liked it, there's an intermediate step where we say, okay, now we need to figure out how are we going to shoot it for real in the warehouse in Los Angeles. This, what you see here, is called a tech visualization or tech vis. That basically gives you the idea about, hey, okay, we need to generate a tree that is 20 meters long. We need to position the camera from a certain angle. We have all the data to understand, what the focal length is, how much pan, tilt, and rotate we need to apply here. And then we basically have prop builder generating the set, putting it into the warehouse. You bring your lighting guys in, you bring your camera team in, and then you actually shoot the plate. And this is actually what we're ending up having. You can also see there's a stand-in for Bagheera in the background, the guy in the blue suit, that the kid has someone to interact with. And this is a basic combination already from the live action element, extracted from the plate, and then put into the scene. All right. Hopefully that was informative and exciting for you. Gives you a little bit of an insight about what is behind the hood of a filmmaking process. Characters were also very important, obviously, in the movie. I prepared a little bit of a reel for you. It's not playing, unfortunately. Here we go. So this is what we called an animation rig. So how you need to imagine this is you have a little marionette that you can move. So we are building a very simple representation of the animal, in this case Bagheera, and all those various lines in color that you see are the points that an animator can touch and move in order to make, in this case, the cat move around. And as you can imagine, we did a lot of studies. Since the characters were talking, we had to emphasize how the animals are emoting, how they are behaving. We did language study, we did phoneme studies, and really make sure that it's convincing and that when you are in the cinema, you are losing the sense that this is actually not a real animal. Yeah, it was even that detailed that we had to find out the movement of the tongue. Eyes, obviously, a very important thing. This is where the soul of a creature lies, so this one needs to work so that it's convincing. And even down to detailed hair, any movement within the ear, and how it interconnects together. So at MPC, we have a specific pipeline developed that basically layers on top of each other. We're starting with a skeleton, and then on top of the skeleton, we have a muscle system that triggers the deformation of the overlying skin, and the skin simulation again then triggers the simulation of the fur, and then this simulates the hair movement, and then here you can see the final render. So it's a kind of an onion layered process in order to make a convincing tiger move. And this is for Shere Khan. The same principle applies for Baloo. Obviously for Baloo, because he's a little bit fatter and has more muscles and more fat, you know, it's a little bit more jiggly. So we had to adjust our settings for our muscle system. But this is the principle of how you actually make this character believably move, and you can buy into the photorealism of the character. And also the same to give you an idea for Bagheera, the panther, coming up. Obviously, we were refining it. Now for the work on the Lion King, we already have better tools to simulate skin movement so that it looks even more convincing and even more realistic. Similarly important to the characters are also the environments. Excuse me. So this is basically, we had two major items to develop. One are the talking animals, and the other side was the hypnotically beautiful environments, the sets, so to give the character and the actor a framework to begin with. So that is actually very elaborated work that put into, as I already told you.
That's the first mark.
Got it. That's the first mark. Got it. That's the first mark.
Got it!
It's no nudity. Yeah, as mentioned, here you can see representation of the plants and the bushes and the grasses that we built, various species, and to be able to populate the world. And you must imagine every single plant, every single stone, every single dirt that you see is being handmade in the computer. So everything that you see here, as you can see right now, it's all computer generated. We shot the kid in front of Blue and then had to recreate everything and render it out of the computer and put it together. Obviously, that gives also the filmmakers a lot of freedom to art direct and to position the grasses and the trees and the bushes, whatever they would like to do. And it's easier for them to do changes because it's easier to change a tree in the computer instead of chopping it off in real life and repositioning it to another position. That's our famous watering hole where the animals gather. And also because we had our set developed from various angles, basically from a 360-degree circumference, we also could have various scenes playing on the hill here so that we can position the camera wherever we want and gave the filmmakers and the director basically total freedom to shoot the film the way he wants. Okay. Lastly, to give you a bit of an insight about the progression of a specific shot a little bit further, I broke down one shot, the famous shot where Mowgli is sitting on top of Baloo and they're singing the song. into the various stages of where we start getting the elements from the stage after they shot the film to the final images on the screen, and give you a bit of an insight. Firstly, this is the original plate, that's how we call it. This is actually how we are getting the images delivered from location. You can see there's Mowgli singing with the standing character for Baloo. We had a water tank in LA where they were filming the scene. And after we received the images or the original plate over here on the left, there's a process called camera tracking. And in this process, we basically recreate this whole scene in the computer so that we have a camera, a digital camera that is 100% matching with the camera we shot on location. So that makes, or that enables us to actually add whatever we want to the scene. After the tracking step, we have a layout step. What happens in the layout step is that we are positioning the characters, and in this case, the main actor, in the world so that it makes sense for us, because we have to decide, okay, how much trees do we have in the background, in what position of the river are the animators playing, is Baloo playing, or the actor. So that's all happening in the layout step. After the layout step comes the fun step, that's animation. So this is where the animators get their hands on the scene, and they are, using the puppet that we built for Baloo and the facial rig to actually put the movement of the mouth, the movement of the eyes, the emotion of the character into the scene. Obviously,
when you look under the rocks and plants, take a glance at them fancy ants and then.
You also saw there was Bill Murray over there on the top left corner of the shot. So what we're doing when we are shooting the voice actors, we're actually filming the voice actors as well, so that the animators have a reference and can use this as a guideline for emotion, for smiling, how are the actors interpreting the scene, and they're trying to use this as a reference to put it also on the animal. Next step is the simulation of cloth and the skin of the characters and the fur. You can see on the left upper hand is the skin animation, on the right lower end is the fur animation. In this shot it was particularly tricky because we have water interaction also, so the fur needs to kind of give the impression that it's floating on water. So that's the next step. And after this is successfully done, we are lighting the scene. That means we're going to put actual lights into the scene, and then we render the shot. We're adding water effects and splash effects, sometimes the little birds here and there. In this case, if you can see on the left side, there's also a CG representation of the kid, of Mowgli in the scene. We need this one to have accurate shadow on the actual animal that we rendered out of the computer. And that's the final scene.
When you look under the rocks and plants, take a glance at them fancy ants and then.
Okay, and then just to give you a little bit of a treat, there's a little cut together of a shot. On the left side it says, it shows the original plate, what we shot on location. On the right side you see the final images after we finished our work and put it onto the screen.
Look for the bare necessities, the simple bare necessities. Forget about your worries and your strife. I mean the bare necessities, old Mother Nature's recipes that bring the bare necessities of life. Wherever I wander, wherever I roam, I couldn't be fonder of my big home. The bees are buzzing in a tree to make some honey just for me. When you look under the rocks and plants, take a glance at them fancy ants and then maybe try a few.
The bare necessities of what will come to you.
Wherever I wander, wherever I roam, I couldn't be fonder of my big home. The bees are buzzing in the tree to make some honey just for me. Will you look under the rocks and plants and then take a glance at the ants and then maybe try a few? The bare necessities of life have come to you. They will come to you. Yeah, they'll come to you. Come to you.
Blue, blue, look.
Stay low on my back. Come on out and show yourself. Mowgli.
Oh, I was looking everywhere for you. I thought you were gone.
Are you all right?
Yeah.
That was Jon Favreau, actually, on the left side, the director.
Stay. And now we're working together.
Really? That's a new wrinkle. I didn't know sloth bears were. Ugly. Let's be on our way.
Wait.
Yeah, go on ahead. I'll catch up.
And that's it. So, thank you so much. There will be a workshop as well, starting from tomorrow, a 3 days workshop about visual effects and filmmaking and the post-production process in general, where I'm going to elaborate a little bit further about the techniques we applied on the film. So whoever wants to come and is interested in getting a more in-depth explanation about the process, you're happily invited to join the workshop starting from tomorrow. Thank you. You want to sit down or? Yeah, sure. Doesn't work? No mic? Can we get the mic working?
No mic.
There we
Okay,
go.
guys. Thank you so much. This is very impressive. Guys, let's hear it from Mr. Roth. Come on. One more time. Yalla.
Thank you.
I actually am very impressed. I don't have a lot of questions for you. I was hoping that the audience will have tons of questions, but unfortunately we only have a few time, like we have less than 10 minutes. But I want to ask you this. What was your drive? What was your passion? How did it start to be in this industry?
Yeah. I think the spark got ignited when I watched the movie Jurassic Park. So that was basically like when I think I was maybe in my teenager, 13, 14, when the first Jurassic Park came out. And I was just stunned by the sheer possibility to make dinosaurs move again. I'm like everyone who loves, I love dinosaurs. I was almost still a kid, and I just couldn't believe how are they making this work. It was outside of my imagination how this is even possible. So, and that was just so interesting for me to find out how they did this, that I started to pursue this road and studying, about filmmaking, about post-production, about animation in general, specifically. And then I just started on my journey, and it captivated me ever since. And I'm, keep still learning even after 20 years in the business. Like every year, there's something new that need to follow up with, and it's very, very exciting.
That's very exciting, like you said. Jurassic Park, a very interesting film. They made 2 new ones. Did you ever had a chance to work on these? It would be a perfect circle, right?
That would have been even better. No.
Definitely.
No, that was before I was actually in that tier
Yes.
of working on films.
But they are still making.
They're still making them, yeah.
Yes.
It's unfortunately it's a company called Industrial Light and Magic who are doing those kind of movies. I until now have not yet worked with those with this company, but maybe in the future at some point.
Okay. I really want to give an advice for an upcoming visual effect artist someone who is sitting home watching a movie similar to Jurassic Park or even Jurassic Park and wanting to learn and to do something like that. What is an advice to a young fellow who wants to be a VFX artist?
Yeah, I think the first advice is just don't stop dreaming. It's really, even if you think, it can never be possible that I'm working on a big Hollywood movie like this, just don't stop having this dream, this motivation to just try it. Try it. Okay. Because when I started in the business, I was mostly working at commercials and I never really had the idea how even can I be in this, working in Hollywood blockbuster movies. So, but it was this drive, this motivation of, let's continue, let's see what is the next step, and even if things are not really working out, and especially if you are new and you're trying to develop a new skill, right, and you're getting into barriers and you're not really getting further, just keep pushing, find a way. There's a huge community of visual effects artists around the globe, that you can dive into. Everyone is super helpful, just keep it up and move through the objections and the problems that you have.
One last question from me, and then we go to the audience. The process of choosing a project you want to work on. So let's say you worked on The Lion King.
Yeah.
So how long does it take to work on a project like that? Like your schedule, you have to clear it, right? Like how many projects can they offer you, and how many can you accept?
Yeah. So now, because I'm for The Lion King, I'm involved for 2.5 years. So like from the beginning of my work when I'm starting.
2.5 years?
2.5 years, yeah.
2.5 years. سنتين ونص يا شباب.
So for me, it's like, like some, on my first feature, I started being a single and I ended up being married and having a kid. So, it's like this.
Wow,
this dramatic.
like evolution.
Evolutionary. So obviously, you need to, especially when you're really getting into a higher tier and working with bigger project films, bigger budgeted films, you need to be very selective, because if it's 3 years or 2.5 years of your time, you want to make sure that you actually are motivated enough, to carry it all the way through. The Lion King obviously is a no-brainer. I loved that movie when I was a child. There's a lot of responsibility on our end, obviously, to not mess it up and to make it a nice experience for the audience, but we're doing our best.
Well, thank you so much. Well, now we're going to open the mics for the audience, please. Any questions for Mr. Ra? Gentlemen? Yes. Hinena. Yes.
Mr. Cross, Mr. Chris, it's a pleasure to have you here first. Thank you for coming all the way here. I have so many questions for you. I'm a big fan of you, and I'm a big fan of you and your work. And I have some questions for you. I don't know how many questions am I allowed to ask. But
start with one.
First of all, first question is, as in the industry, does it really matter if you go to VFX school to be able to get a decent job in the industry? Does it have to be, studied in university in school, or because just for me, I just self-taught, and I've been like looking into tutorials online, whatever I can find, all their sources, and I don't know if this is really gonna like get me somewhere, and I don't know if the so.
Yeah, it's a very good question actually. So yes, there are schools that you can go to, and some are better, some are not as good, and some are actually also quite pricey. For this specific job, and getting a position in the VFX industry, it is not necessary that you are that you're having a school certificate. It is more important actually that you are honing your skills, that you perfect your skills, that you keep doing it. Like an artist, you need to constantly evolve, and it's absolutely okay to using tutorials from the internet. Working with communities. And not having a certificate from school in order to get a job in this industry. So it's still doable. Let's say like this is a very young industry still. Like VFX maybe started 20 years ago. Like I know we had Star Wars in the 70s, but there was more practical effects and special effects. But the actual craft, like when I started in this industry, there was not even a school. Like the courses I did. That was the first time they actually offered it. They didn't know what they're doing. We had to learn it ourselves. I really had to get my hands dirty and get tutorials in and work on it, find my next job, annoy people, try me out, give me a chance. And that's also maybe what I would like to give you in Saudi Arabia, this opportunity. I know the market here is not as big yet, but I know it's growing, and what can we also do to give you as aspiring artists more chances also to show your talent, maybe even work from here for a project abroad. You know, maybe come over and do an internship or whatever is possible. Obviously, talent is key, and the more you can do yourself and work yourself up on the computer and ask questions and get someone who maybe also tutors you, you know, who is already in the industry, that's all you need actually to get a job in this industry. I hope it helps you to be motivated to continue on your path.
I also have another question. Regarding, we have so many like applications and programs that we use. When it comes to like 3D modeling, there's plenty now, and the industry, it's always like referring to Maya. But what about the other stuff? Like we have like this. I don't know if you heard about it, but there is a Blender. It's an open source, and it does basically everything that you need to integrate to.
What I would suggest, I mean, you're asking very specific questions, which is great. Maybe after we finished here, let's just have a chat. You know, we can get you to the side and we can have a bit of a conversation, and you can like ask me all the questions you have, because I think maybe there's someone else who would like to answer a question.
And by the way, did you register to his master class? Today is the last day. اليوم آخر يوم تسجيل الماستر كلاس لمستر روث. اللي بيبلا يجيني بعد اللقاء. I think one more question.
Over there.
Front row.
Hello. Yeah, I have two questions for you. Very short one.
Hi. I've watched two of your famous works, the Game of Thrones and the Transformers, and I really admire your work. But I gotta ask, is there any chance we could see you participate in some Saudi work?
In what kind of work?
In Saudi work.
In Saudi work?
Yes.
Why not? I have nothing yet lined up, but I mean that's also one of the reasons why I'm here, to get to know filmmakers from Saudi Arabia, and to bring the knowledge that I have over to this country and help build up the industry as best as possible.
Definitely.
So I'm still young, so there is definitely a possibility to work on films here in Saudi Arabia.
Okay. Thank you. Let's have it. Last question over there. Yes.
Hello, Mr. Roth. I have two questions for you, very short ones. The first one is it ever a problem when the actor looks somewhere besides where he's supposed to look? And the second question is, what is the difference between the thing that you demonstrated for us today and motion capture? And which one do you think new artists should focus on more?
Okay, let me answer your first question, and then I think you have to repeat your second one because I not get it fully. Maybe keep the microphone for the moment.
Please keep the microphone, yes.
So the first question, yes, this is one of the major problems we have on set, is that the actors don't really know where to look. So maybe you saw in one of those clips that I showed, there was the guy in blue with a little hand puppet. So these are the tricks that we need to use so that we know, like, where's your, we call it eye line. Where does the actor actually have to look, because you have nothing on set. But then what we employ here is some stand-in works. For Guardians of the Galaxy, for example, we have Groot was very big,
tall,
right? Yeah, he's like 2.30 meters or something. So what we had a guy who actually wore a Groot hat on top of his head, so that then the actor knows, don't talk to him in the eyes, and he always did. Chris Pratt always looked at the eyes and talked to them. No, you have to look at Groot. It's a bit higher. So we had to do some retakes there. But that's are the tricks that we are doing to make the actors, to help the actors to actually act with the characters that are not there.
The second question is, what is the difference between what you showed us today and motion capture?
Okay.
And which one do you think we should focus on, like, as an upcoming artist?
Yeah, it depends. I mean, from a producer point of view or a supervisor point of view, it depends a little bit what you want to achieve. For the Jungle Book and also The Lion King, we don't employ any motion capture at all. Like, everything that you see on screen is hand animated, like keyframe we call it. So we don't have any, it's hard to put a lion in a costume and then motion capture it. It's a bit dangerous. We don't want to do that. For example, then Planet of the Apes, I don't know if you know this movie from Weta, they had actors, performers in a suit because they could emulate the motion and the movement of a monkey better, because it's a similar physiognomy than the human skeleton. So it was easier to do that. As an artist, I'm in love. That's where I came from. My background is hand-drawn animation, so I always would prefer hand-drawn animation in favor of motion capture. but there's definitely a market and a need also to use this one. It just really depends what you like better. I think hand-drawn or hand animation is a little bit more artistic, and motion capture is a little bit more technically. So it depends what your strengths are, what you would choose as an animator.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mr. Roth, for this amazing presentation. Please, let's hear it for Mr. Roth one more time.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
يعطيكم العافية.